Scott Hamilton back with another interview, podcast, Zoom thing. Boy, this virus situation has made things more interesting for us. But I'm Scott Hamilton, and I'm on the Zoom with Cameron Byrd of VEIO.
That is I. That is I. Thank you for having me.
And you're in Portland. This is where you're based and where you're from?
Yep, born and raised in Portland. I've lived all over the place, but this is where the band is based out of, and we're here. Yeah.
So how do Portland natives feel about TV shows like Grimm that get filmed in the city? Does it portray the city well, or is it embarrassment, or is it get in the way? Because I know when they were filming Bad Boys in Miami, they were shutting down streets, and we had a lot of problems and complaints, and that kind of stuff.
Well, see, that's the thing. I don't think people really dislike or discourage filming here, but like you said, you can drive down neighborhood streets and entire blocks are shut down with big production trucks outside, with all the staff and crew and trailers and things like that. And so it can become kind of a headache. But I think I've had some people I know that had that kind of thing happening in their area. They do compensate people a little bit
nice.
for being able to do that. So it's never directly affected me, but we've had several shows filmed here, and obviously Portlandia, everybody knows,
right?
And, yeah, so it's kind of funny having like the quirky, weird city out here on the West Coast that everybody kind of likes to come up and film in and make stories about and stuff.
And you did nail the next question. Has it ever impacted you? Like, was there a problem recording or getting to a gig or anything like that? But you said no, so it's all good for you.
All good for me, yeah.
So tell us a little bit how VEIO started.
So we started, this band was formed 4 years ago. VEIO, yes. We'll get into the name thing because that's our fault. That's our fault.
Dude, my long career in radio, I've always wondered why bands like Live. For a long time, it was Live, or is it Live? I've got a new band I'm playing on the Prague station that's called Anyone. Have you ever tried to Google a band called Anyone and see what you get?
It's probably terrible.
So anyway.
That's on us. Wait, what was the question?
Well, tell us about the beginnings of VEIO. You started about 4 years ago.
Yeah, this band formed 4 years ago. We've got 2 full-length records out now. Chris is our bass player. There it is right there. Vitruvius came out June 19th. Chris Lewis is our bass player, and my brother Brett is our drummer. And we've been playing music together our whole lives, my brother and I. We started playing music when we were really young. We started with piano, and then I moved on to guitar. He moved on to drums, and everything's kind of all she wrote from there. We had our little kid band together. We had our middle school, high school band together. We worked on a few other things together, and now we have VEIO. And so we're just kind of continuing the process and just trying to write as much badass music as we can.
I was going to say, I hear a lot of influences in there. What were you guys listening to in the beginning? What was when you guys were first, the brothers anyway, playing in your room, what were those first rock songs that made you want to do what you're doing today?
Well, it's funny because we grew up in a family that wasn't really musical at all, but liked music. My mom was huge on Elvis Presley growing up, and musicals like the Grease soundtrack and things like that.
Sure.
And then my dad, we grew up with my dad on, what's now considered classic rock stuff, Zeppelin, Hendrix, Metallica, AC/DC, stuff like that. And so that was some of the earliest influences in my music as far as rock and roll goes. But then at the same time, we also, we have a huge up here in the Northwest presence of rock bands from the 90s. And so a lot of those bands have been huge influences on me and continue to be, like Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. And so that whole kind of 90s Northwest mix really comes into a lot of what I write personally. Whereas Chris comes from a background of a lot more metalcore, thrashier type stuff. And so we kind of gel it all together, and I'm huge on the prog side, as
right.
You love prog too. We were talking about Porcupine Tree a few minutes ago and everything. And a band and this is obviously a mega band that everybody loves, but Tool creeps in there. Bands like Chevelle creep in there for me. and then like just a lot of the proggier stuff too that are, you know, more smaller bands, but the guys that like I aspire to be like in terms of writing the type of music that I want to write and just having fun with it.
Right. Well, and you hear that in all the music, and I got to say, you're one of the few bands that have come across my desk over the last 8 years that I've run both of these radio stations that I can play on both of my radio stations, on both a rock station and a prog station, you know, and I love that. And there's, you know, Tool and Rush are about the only other bands that can, you know, that can straddle that fence of, well, it's still prog and complicated and technical, and but it's also melodic, and you can tap your foot to it and you can sing along with it, kind of thing, you know.
Totally, and that's what we go for, you know, because like we listen, all three of us in the band personally listen to a lot of like really proggy stuff and a lot of stuff that's not like, you know, listenable to the mainstream audience.
The mainstream.
The mainstream, yeah. But and that's what we listen to, and that's what we're really inspired by. But at the same time, we want people to be able to appreciate our music too. And I do like a lot of mainstream stuff too. So it's not like I'm putting a nose up to it or faking it when I go to the mainstream stuff. It's like, no, there's a lot of really good stuff in both worlds there. And then we kind of try to collide it together and we try to make prog listenable to the normal everyday listener out there.
Dude, that's exactly what I'm doing with my radio station. I put it on and said, you know, if I don't get too much into elves and the more ethereal stuff, if I kind of keep it on the prog rock vein that maybe, and yeah, I think, you know, there's room for that in everybody's musical diet.
Definitely.
So how did you get that first album recorded? Because I didn't even discover you guys until the second one, until a record promoter is going, you need to play these guys. I think you'd like them. Try it on your prog station. And I'm like, dude, this would fit on both. But anyway, so I've recently heard both albums, and I track your evolution and progression. But how did that first album come about?
You know, Chris had just joined the band at that time, and we were just ready to make some new music, to be honest. Like, we were ready to do something a little bit different. We were ready to kind of start dipping our feet into, you know, because when you start a band, obviously most people want to have like some sort of success with it. Like, you start a band and you're like, just like kids growing up playing basketball, every kid's like, you know, I want to be in the NBA, or I want to be like Ken Griffey Jr., or, you know, something like that. Right. And it's like kind of the same way with bands, I feel like. And, you know, we wanted to have some sort of success with it from the get-go, but, you know, we're all used to kind of writing, you know, like metalcore, more chunkier, grungy, post-grunge type stuff, like rock and roll. But we also wanted to dip our toes into the prog world. And so when our first record, Infinite Light, Desperate Shadows, started to get developed, we're like, okay, what can we do to make this different from what we've done in the past, but still kind of like, again, try to fit into that mainstream realm a little bit. And, you know, we when that album came out, we were very satisfied with it. But as time went on, we realized how much more focus we could get with it, and just become better songwriters and have more cohesive parts and cohesive flow throughout the album and things like that. And so while we still like a lot of the songs, and one of the songs in particular off that album is still my favorite to play live, you know, it was kind of like, okay, we did what we did there, and let's try to develop that further and really refine who we are and what we want to do with the second album. So. And
you said you were going to clue us in on the name VEIO. Where did that come from?
Yeah, when we were forming the band, I'm a big history nerd. In college, a lot of my electives were history electives, stuff like that. And at the time of the formation of the band, we were hold on. I guess I got to close Facebook. I didn't realize I had Facebook open. I don't
Social media is intruding. No, I couldn't hear it.
A bunch of dings just went off, and I was like really distracted by it. No, but okay, when we first formed the band, though, there was, as I said, I'm a history nerd, kind of a history buff, and there was a statue of Apollo dug up, that was like, you know, 2,500 years old, in a Etruscan town outside of Rome called VEIO. The modern pronunciation of the name is VEIO. It used to be called VEI with no O on the end. So I don't know what that's all about in terms of like linguistically for them, or historically for them. But yeah, I just thought it was kind of cool. There's nothing significant to us. Really, I just thought it was a cool name, a unique name. I wanted to go with something that was different. And like we were talking about too, choosing something different led to, pronunciations of VEIO, Vi, like just all these different things. But that's where it came from. And so it was just kind of a cool thing for me to choose personally. And yeah, it's got a story behind it now, obviously.
Because Hootie and the Blowfish was already taken, so.
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And so I was reading a little blurb that as you went back in to record the second album, you kind of wanted to go deeper in the songwriting, go deeper into some of the rhythmic stuff, and go deeper into, well, like you said, some of the proggier elements. What was it like recording that album? You worked with some pretty big names.
Yeah. So we just wanted to refine our sound more, like I said, kind of but develop who we were and who we are as artists more. And we do have our guy Stephen Hawks here in Portland, who's done a lot of really good bands, a lot of really cool bands. We still work with him. He's a good friend, a dear friend, part of our team. But our label group wanted us to kind of branch out from that. And we got the opportunity to go work with a really big name in Sylvia Massey, who did a lot of really big records. And she actually has a studio here in Southern Oregon, so the very end of the state from where we're at. We're right at Washington, and she's right at California, basically. So we traveled down there to Ashland, Oregon, the day after Christmas. We had a 4-day window to record with her, and we recorded 2 of the tracks off the new album with her. And it was just a cool, fun, all-around, awesome experience. Having a name like that. She's got Tool records on her resume. She's got Chili Pepper records. She's got Johnny Cash. She's got System of a Down. She personally knew Prince, like all these different like major names in music. And so it was cool going down and getting a perspective from someone like that on our music as well.
Absolutely. I mean, had to be flattering. Name. Yeah.
It was flattering. It was a fun time. It was weird going down the day after Christmas and getting home the day like I think we got home not on New Year's Eve. We got home on January 31st. So it was a really quick whirlwind experience, but it was cool. It was a lot of fun.
So what are your favorite songs on the album?
Personally, my favorite song off of Vitruvian is the last one called Centauri. I'm a sucker for huge, long, epic songs. And so Centauri is probably like my number one favorite. But there's elements of a lot of them that I really like. There's a song right before Centauri called Pariahs that we get a little more metal on than we do on the rest of the record in the middle part. And I love that. And then, some of the songs that we have been fortunate enough to play live thus far, Flare Defiance, which was the lead track off the album. Ascendancy is a ton of fun to play live. And then Dolos is another one of the kind of singles that we put out early before the release. And that's not one of my more favorite songs because I like the song and how it came out, but live it is super hard to play. It is like, well, it's not super hard on the guitar, but for me vocally, it's super hard to belt out live. And it's just like, it takes a lot of air, pushing a lot of air out of my body. And just like, actually, funny story, we were in Idaho last fall, like last October, for a handful of shows, just kind of in that inner west region. And we're at altitude in Idaho, and I almost passed out from singing Dolos live because it was just pushing so much air, and I wasn't used to being at 5,000 feet and like all this stuff. So yeah, so my long story short, that was a roundabout answer, but Centauri is my favorite song, the last one. It closes out the album well, and that's the one I can't wait to play live that we have not played live yet.
I think that's going to have to be the next ad on the Prog station.
We would love it. We would love for you to do that.
We're supporting the single on both stations, but the Prog station can play some deeper cuts.
For sure. And it's like 9 minutes long. So
hey,
that's
right in our wheelhouse. That's right. Yep. That's a comfort zone right there.
Definitely.
So tell me about the name Vitruvian. This history buff guy. These cool names from the past keep popping up.
Yep, they do. So Vitruvian was a concept that I came up with a handful of years ago, actually, that I just kind of been waiting around to use. And a lot of people have seen a sketch by Leonardo da Vinci out there called Vitruvian Man. And it's the guy with his arms and legs outstretched in a circle and square. And what da Vinci drew that as, or described that as, was proportions of man. And it meant physically, everybody's legs and arms and torso are pretty much the same size, right? But then I found that I had this idea that proportions of man I wanted to translate into my own artistic perspective as proportions of man, like things in life that we all go through, like different emotions, different experiences, just kind of different life happenstances. And so what I did with this record when I was writing the lyrics is I unofficially gave a theme and label to each song and kind of wrote the lyrics centered around that. And so that was my proportions of man. That was our proportions of man in terms of, a song about anxiety and depression, a song about grief, a song about just awe and wonder, a song about, kind of like bloodlust and wanting it to give it, like punch someone else in the face,
Right.
like just all those kind of emotions and experiences wrapped up is the proportions of man on Vitruvian for me.
Gosh, I love when music has depth and layers.
Thank you.
So very nice. So here we are, and we've been quite a few months into this virus situation. Mm-hmm. And you guys, I know, were probably planning to tour and do some big things with this last album, but now you're sitting on your hands and you're kind of, are we working on new music? Are we making plans for other albums and things like that?
Yeah, actually we are. It's kind of funny. It's kind of weird to, we just released the new album Vitruvian on June 19th. Mm-hmm. So that's 2 months ago, really. It's weird to be working on new music already, but we are, because we should be out on the road. We were supposed to be out on the road basically all this year. We had 2 tours canceled on us. We had 3 or 4 more prospective tours, either bumped back or canceled. Yep. And so it's just really like put all of that on the back burner, obviously. But in that, we are starting to move forward already, writing new stuff, kind of approaching a few different ideas, some stuff we've never done before, as far as maybe approaching songs off of this record and rewriting them a little bit and doing them in a different vibe, kind of reimagining them, I should say. And then also just moving forward with new music as well and new riffs. I mean, I got right here, I'm at my workstation. I got my guitar sitting next to me, and my studio monitor's right back here. So I sit here and work quite a bit of the days in the evenings and try to come up with new stuff, new riffs, new material, new melodies and everything. So yeah, we're going in that direction.
Using the time wisely, because we all have that time.
Yeah, we all have the time for sure.
It's been a good time to create some new content, if you will, and
totally.
And it's given me more time. Like Tuesdays are like my busiest day of the week, but these days I can move things around, and I had time to talk to Cam from my up and coming, one of my favorite new bands. So I'm very excited.
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, like, we're just like everybody else, man. We're stuck at home, like just trying to make do with what we got right now. And, just trying to make it through this and crossing our fingers that all this stuff goes away pretty quick.
I'm feeling sorry for those late night talk show guys. They're all broadcasting from their home, and other than their Zoom interviews, they're having a really hard time with no audience to feed off of. And I can only imagine what bands. I mean, what if you were one of these bands like Metallica doing a drive-in show, or doing, you're playing in a venue with no people, but you're broadcasting at that. How would that feel to you?
Well, it would feel strange, first of all.
More like a rehearsal.
More like a rehearsal, yeah, totally. And like, that's something we've actually thought about doing is figuring out how to do a performance like that. But, as a smaller band out there right now, it's like we toyed with the thought of doing a live stream concert or a rehearsal space concert, and it's like, as a smaller band, we feel like we're kind of going to get lost in the shuffle of everything. And if we do go down that road and decide to do something like that, we're trying to figure out like a really unique way to do it, like something that really helps us stand out. Not that we're any cooler or have better ideas than anybody else, or like are a better band or anything, or like, you know, like putting our nose up to that kind of thing. But it's just like, we need to figure out a way, if we're going to do that, that we just don't get lost in the mix with everybody else. And so,
And you got 12 people out there going,
yes, exactly. Like, yeah, like these bands, you know, they do their live stream concerts and they got hundreds, if not thousands of people watching it. And like for us, it's like we put in all this work, and then like there's literally like maybe a couple hundred max.
That'd be nice.
At one point. Yeah, that'd be nice. So yeah. So I think it's cool that a lot of bands are doing that. It's just for us, we're not sure if that's the right approach for us right now.
But it seems like we still have a little bit of time. Most things have been pushed back to 2021 now, so.
Yep, definitely. And that's only 4 months away, so
right.
That's crazy.
We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, yep.
So in those future plans, I you know, talking about Vitruvius, there's a bit of a concept, and you have these prog leanings. Are we going to do a concept album one day?
Well, you know, I would say that Vitruvian is actually kind of a concept album in terms of the whole like label, each having an unofficial theme to each song kind of deal. But it doesn't. You're right in that it's not a concept album where it flows like purposely from one song to the next. Like we think the album flows really well musically and everything. We added a few little bits of ear candy and stuff, like trailing from one song to the next kind of stuff. But I think a concept album would be cool to do in terms of the traditional sense of a concept album. And just like write a story from beginning to end and having it be like this one cohesive thing all the way through. And I do have an idea for something that's similar to that, that I'm not sure if it's going to be our next project, and hopefully we get to a project after that and a project after that, right?
Right.
But you know, it's something that I hope to do down the road and hope to accomplish. And I think it should be a pretty cool type idea and pretty cool type sound to it too, because it's going to be a little different than what we've always traditionally done if we get to that point.
Sounds very intriguing. I'm excited. One day.
Thank you. One day.
Well, dude, I can't wait to see you guys live. That is, to me, where a band really defines, you know, their sound and who they are to a certain extent. I love great studio work. I love slick production, but I also like to see, you know, sweaty guys and gals on a stage giving it their all to impress and get their art across. So hopefully one day we get a chance to see you down here in South Florida, where we'll always be sweaty.
Always sweaty down there.
So what are you doing with your time when you're not working, and like, you know, hobbies? What are we doing when we're not having to do radio interviews and record music?
Yeah, I fish a lot. I'm a big fisherman. Yeah. So that's, it's kind of been, honestly, in one way, it's been kind of fun to be home for the summer, because being out in the nice weather up here in the Northwest is, you know, starting November till about early March, it rains all the time. So like being home during the nice weather, being out fishing. But you know, part of my normal routine, I guess it's not a hobby, but routine, is like going to the gym too. And that's been shut down as well. So like I've been kind of like totally out of my comfort zone in terms of like routine, in terms of like doing music stuff and then gym stuff, or just everyday life. So I've replaced a lot of that with fishing this year. And I fished a lot in the past, but this year it's been like, I mean, sometimes I'm out there like 10 days in a row, just,
oh, wow.
Whether it's from a buddy's boat that I have access to, or from the bank, or hiking around, just discovering new spots. You know, I love to do that. So I've been out there a lot this summer doing that.
And fishing is a great hobby to take some time for yourself to get into your own mental space and think about things and think them out. And I mean, fishing is fun. Definitely. Well, dude, much success to you and the boys. I love the 2 albums. I can't wait to hear more. And I feel like I'm like everybody else. Like you said, you know, we just put the album out 2 months ago, and we're already working on new music. But I want more, you know, and I don't find that with a lot of new bands. So thank you for being that in my musical diet. Well, awesome. Thank you. We appreciate that you appreciate what we do. And hopefully we can get down there and play, you know, the Miami-Dade area or somewhere like that soon. Dude, we will definitely be there with bells on to see you. Thank you for taking the time out today, Cam. Cool. Thanks, Scott. Appreciate you, man. Hey, appreciate you. Keep making the music, and we'll keep doing what we do.
Awesome. Sounds good.
All right, man. Have a great holiday.
Hey, you as well.
Take care.
See ya.
Bye.